No, don't fall asleep yet. We have so much work to do. You need to stay with me now. If you don't, you can't go to patreon.com/WassesCast Productions. For less than the cost of a good night's sleep, you can support our show. That's bonus episodes, early access, and exclusive content for these long, sleepless nights. You aren't just hearing things. You're hearing us say patreon.com/WassesCast Productions. Stick with us a while longer. You're almost home.
Don't wait for the sun. It could turn black any day. I lost my hat in the clouds.
2 weeks, 4 days, 18 hours, and 37 minutes since we last slept. All we have fueling us right now is the coffee shaking in our hands in the desperate need to never stop podcasting. Welcome to the After Credits Cast, the only film podcast that refuses to sleep when the Nolan Wars must continue. I'm your host, AJ Wassescart, and I'm joined by Ryan Midormer.
I don't know why I'm still awake. This movie just about put me to sleep, so I don't know why I'm still here.
Oh, someone's being a rude boy.
Someone's a cranky, tired boy.
We have some podcast links down below, including Patreon, YouTube, Pippa, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio. You know them all. They're all there. I don't know why I keep saying them every week. You all know where they're at. If you don't know where they're at by now, you can Google us. You'll find us. You can also find us on the social media. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook. We're all there. Ryan, if they want to email us directly, where can they email us at?
They can email us at who the fuck named this town Night Mute? Night Mute? Please! There's not a speck of night anywhere in this town. I'm sorry.
Well, hence the mute part.
You know what? Fuck you, man. It's evacstation.com. God, like evacstation@gmail.com. You dick. The night's been placed on mute. I'm twice as mad now. God damn it.
Also,
I don't fucking believe you.
in that vein, the song for this week, the intro song is "Don't Wait for the Sun" by American Hi-Fi.
It's clever.
I try sometimes. Y'all can start. What we're doing the 2002 Insomnia movie, directed by Nolan. I'm sure you're aware of that. Written by, here's some names: Hilary Stiles, Nikolaj Frobenius, and Eric. Some Swedish name I'm not going to try to pronounce. It's a string of letters.
Just consonants as far as the eye can see.
I'm gonna make up an attempt here. Skjoldbjörg. That's my best guess.
I'll say Skjoldbjörg.
He's probably more accurate than I am. We're not trying to make fun of your name, Eric. We just don't know how to pronounce that language.
Yep, no, that's a genuine attempt for me to pronounce that, so I do apologize if I butchered it, which I'm sure I did.
Yep. The film went on to gross $113 million worldwide, which is about 2.5 times what it cost. Decent returns.
Mm-hmm.
The cast includes Larry Holden, Nikki Katt, Paul Dooley, Hilary Swank, Oliver Zeman, Martin Donovan, Al Pacino, and for the first fucking time on this channel, Robin Williams. Why did it take so goddamn long to get him on this list?
I got a second question for you. Why did it take so long to get him in this fucking movie? We went 49 minutes without getting Robin Williams. I don't understand.
I will say, as the person who is pro this movie, I will agree it did take a long time for him to show up in this one. This is a movie. Got several nominations, but only one win from the London Critics Circle of Film Awards for Best Director of the Year.
I wonder.
Fair enough. Ryan, I believe you have a few fun facts for me.
Yep, well, the only thing fun about them is that it'll get us closer to the end. Alright, fun fact number 1. As of 2017, this is the only film directed by Christopher Nolan in which Nolan does not have an official writing credit, even though he wrote the final draft of the screenplay himself. Not to brag. Second up, although primarily known for comedic roles, this is one of only two thrillers in which... This is one of two thrillers in which Robin Williams starred in the same year. The other was 1 Hour Photo, which was fucking terrifying. He would later say that the isolation of filming on location in Alaska contributed to his falling off the wagon and drinking relapse while shooting this film.
I want to add that fun fact real quick. So, for those who don't know this show very well, this podcast, if you will, originally our entire theme was going to be one of us. We start with a movie. We start with Space Jam, and we were going to each pick a different movie each week to week, and we would all just watch whatever that person recommended. And the second movie was Roger Rabbit, which we recorded, and it was very long, and I did not know how to make that bite-sized enough for this stuff. And I think we lost some recording at some point because of crashes and shit. And then the third one, I think, was my turn. It was gonna be this movie, actually. I can't...
Really? This movie?
It was either this or a different Robin Williams movie, and I can't remember what it was or why. Because Roger Rabbit didn't have Robin Williams in it, so why did I pick that? No, there was a different reason, but I know this was one of them. Wait, no. I think there was someone else before me, and then I was going to pick this or something else, and then the schedule of people couldn't make it, and we had to reevaluate the whole premise. So, but, yeah, this is one of my picks I was going to do, and we ended up not getting to do it, so.
So nepotism put this on our list. I see.
Oh yeah, I really wanted to do 1 Hour Photo, but sorry, I meant 1 Hour Photo is the one I was going to pick, but that was definitely spooky. It was definitely good. Fuck, why did I pick that one? Anyway, Ryan, your third fun fact. I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
Indeed. Last fun fact, this film is a remake of the Norwegian film by the same name, made in 1997, in which Stellan Skarsgård is cast. While the 2002 remake stars Robin Williams, Williams and Skarsgård actually worked together in the critically acclaimed film Good Will Hunting, which also came out in 1997.
Which is also a really good movie, actually.
Oh, Good Will Hunting is an amazing film. That movie kind of makes me cry every time.
Yeah. Man, we're going to have to do that one at some point, aren't we?
Can we do a Robin Williams film fest?
It's been on the list for a while. It's just, when do you sneak it in there? It's a tough one to push, but it's definitely on my list for sure.
Well, guys, if you want to see a Robin Williams season, please email us or connect to us with any of the links below.
Yep. Would definitely love to do that. So if that's something you were feeling, we will definitely reach out to it. Good Morning Vietnam's a fun one I want to get into. I've never seen the one Patch Adams. I've heard it's really good. I want to see it. I'll get an excuse to whip out Jumanji again. That was great. I might skip Flubber. It has not aged very well, but I wouldn't be opposed to seeing it if I had to. I don't know.
No, we can't just only watch the movies we like. You made me watch this. We should watch Flubber.
I'm surprised you didn't say, you made me watch Last Airbender. Prepare to suffer.
No, I have forgotten The Last Airbender, and you can't make me remember it.
Oh, right, because of Final Fantasy VII.
You can't make me remember that either. Anyway, we have some initial thoughts before we get into the synopsis.
We do. Ryan, why don't you take lead?
Well, anybody suffering from insomnia should definitely put this movie in. You'll be out like a light. It's sad that for a cast of, like, blockbuster actors, you don't get a whole bunch of value out of it. It's as bare as a small town in Alaska I think could be, so that's it's true to form in that case, I guess. Yeah.
Well, for me, I thought it was pretty good. I enjoy. I've seen Robin Williams do the bad guy roles and stuff like, I don't think it's CSIs in particular, but like Law and Order and stuff like that, like various like crime shows. And it's always a treat to see him play a bad guy because he does a really good job being this creepy weirdo. And I love it when actors of his caliber can just take on those darker roles. So it's just a treat on that alone. Even if it does take him a while to show up, it's still pretty good.
I didn't laugh once in this movie. It's
a
waste of his talent. It's a waste of his talent.
It's a shame he never got to play the Joker. I know that's something he wanted to do for the longest time, and it just never came to him. You know. Hey Nolan, why didn't you bring him in to be Joker? That would have been great.
Oh my god. That actually would have been pretty that would have been pretty interesting. I think he might have been a little too old for the role, but I think that would have been very interesting.
Maybe. He's the only actor I'd want to see as the Joker over Nicolas Cage at this point. And Nicolas Cage gets it because he's already fucking insane.
Yep, he's nuts.
We have a synopsis here. We'll breeze right through it and jump into some discussion questions. Words. Hard to say. Here we go. A couple of LA cops are brought up to Alaska to investigate a murder because one chief owes the other chief of Night Mute a favor. It's all about who you know, kids. Said cops are Will Dormer, who is under investigation himself for planting evidence to solve an important case, and Happy Eckhart, not at all related to Aaron Eckhart, who is willing to testify against Dormer. A plot point which will become relevant all too soon. They meet a young local cop, Ellie, who is much enamored by the tales of Dormer's career. They interrogate some local kids at the school and kick some dirt to let whoever the murderer is know that they are there. They want to put that pressure on them, get the town talking. A bag is found from the victim, which holds a collection of novels by a certain author we'll get to in a little bit. Dormer and the team lead lure the murderer to a local hunting shack in the middle of what is essentially Silent Hill, because of all the fog. Or would the mist have been a better reference? Either way. Fog happens and Eckhart is shot by Dormer in the middle of it all. To him it was an accident. He only saw a silhouette and tells Eckhart his mistake. Eckhart does not believe it, though, and dies thinking Dormer killed him to silence the whole testimony thing. Dormer pins the murder on the killer, as he does not need another reason for Eternal Affairs to take his job away. Maybe he should go to politics. It should be noted, this all takes place when Dormer is getting very little sleep. Due to Alaska's geographical location in the world, they are currently experiencing 6 months of sunlight, meaning it's still bright and sunny at midnight, and it's not conducive to good sleep. Meaning Dormer is becoming delirious, irritable, and is often seen or hearing things that aren't really there. And this is brought to his attention when the killer calls him directly. He saw what Dormer did and claims that they are quote-unquote partners on this, as he didn't mean to kill Kay, the victim, either. Dormer pulls aside one of Kay's friends, Tanya, after the funeral to get some information. She tries to seduce him, he tries to scare her. Things really don't go by the book, as you could tell. But she does tell Dormer Kay knew about the author of her crime books, Walter Finch. Another local. Dormer finds and pursues Finch only to get trapped underwater, under a literal ceiling of logs. It's almost as scary as being trapped under ice, it seems. Another call, and the two killers agree to meet on a ferry that night to discuss the case. When they do, Dormer says incriminating stuff that Finch gets on tape, blackmailing him into cooperation. The plan is for Finch to go in and provide just enough information to get the police to go after Randy, Kay's former boyfriend. He was abusive and cheated on her, so Finch, who loved Kay, believes he kind of deserves it. And, that might be a little extreme, a little excessive. Dormer isn't keen on the idea, but he doesn't want to deal with the fallout of Eckhart's death either. Ellie, however, is not convinced, as the rest of the cops are of this new direction. She goes to Finch's place after Randy's arrest to gather more evidence Finch says he has. These letters that Finch claims to have yet to be fabricated, so he decides that Ellie knows too much and something isn't right, and so he knocks her out and takes her captive. Dormer arrives and saves Ellie, and she tells him that she knows what he did. A shootout happens, and both Dormer and Finch are gunned down in the process. Dormer tells Ellie not to lose her way, as she's about to remove evidence incriminating him of said crimes from its bag. The film ends with Ellie placing said evidence back to where it's supposed to go, listening to the wise words of her dead hero. Ta-da!
I'm sorry. What? I fell asleep.
Someone turn the lights over there. So Ryan, what do you think of that movie?
That's what I thought of it.
Oh, okay. Well, this will be an exciting podcast.
Oh yeah.
Ryan, I got some questions for you. You ready to answer some questions?
I am.
First, let's talk about Robin Williams, since we have not really had a chance to do so before. What do you think of his performance here? And do you like the change from his usual comedic stuff?
No. For many of us, Robin Williams was the voice of the source of many childhood laughs, and seeing him as an all too believable killer was very, very terrifying. I didn't really enjoy that much. I think he played a convincing portrayal of someone who doesn't think he's doing anything wrong and can rationalize each step he takes into madness. And that's really, really disturbing how well he played that. So I don't like thinking of him that way. Not my genie. No, sir.
I really like it. It kind of reminds me of Jordan Peele and his amazing transition into to horror films with Get Out. I think people who can embrace the positivity of the spectrum, i.e. the comedy side of things, have a very good opportunity, a very good chance of being able to nail down horror, but they've got to really be able to nail down one before they can really get the other one like just as good, you know? What do you think of the setting in Alaska? And what are some other unusual locations you'd like to see for films?
I think this is the first movie that I've seen set, particularly with this whole concept of the sun doesn't actually set. And that's fucking disturbing. I never want to go to Alaska. I'm sure it's a gorgeous place, and I'm sure there are people that this would absolutely appeal to. Just the natural beauty of it, the crisp, fresh air, and just like yeah, no, not for me. No, I'm good. Y'all can have that. And like, it's actually very interesting because we've seen movies like set in the Arctic where it's just darkness forever. We've seen Pitch Black, and that's fun. But the concept of what if it's always daytime, like, actually was used to be a very disturbing premise, particularly for the protagonist here. So I think it did what it was supposed to do, but it was very unsettling.
I like the idea. I think, yeah, I would never want to live there. But it's I've never seen that actually portrayed in a movie, TV show, or anything. So it was kind of just to see that different locale and how it like played into the movie as it did. I would almost like to see an alternate version of this where you see this kind of story, but taking place in the all-night version of it. It obviously would not be called Insomnia. It'd probably be called something else, like narcolepsy, maybe?
Just cops are constantly asleep on the job.
Oh, so Springfield. Got it. The question is, Ryan, which Springfield are we talking about?
I was talking about Illinois. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was talking about Springfield. Where the hell is the state that Springfield's in?
Illinois?
How do the corrupt morals of the police in the film compare to the police we've seen in other movies for this series?
The corrupt morales. Oh my god. Sorry, I just read the script.
I know. My brain, my
Don't
phone and my
fix
brain
it.
got worked together.
So it actually takes a. Nope. Wait. Sorry. I forgot. I remembered. I don't like this movie. Yeah. No. The cops are garbage, and they don't do their job. I think it's interesting because I think it's interesting because the protagonist is one of the most morally gray that we've seen, or I think that exists in Nolan's repertoire, because like we see his character going to some really terrible places in the name of like a utilitarian thought, and it's just like doing a little wrong to keep a big right. So you really get to see his character kind of sink into the mud in pursuit of this idea that the ends justify the means. So you can say that like in a thought experiment, like in a hypothetical situation, yes, I would kill one person to save 100. That makes sense from a sheer calculus of life thing like that. But then when you put somebody in an actual position and you see exactly how ugly that road gets, so I think it's a very interesting choice to make your protagonist really go down that road and really show your character getting like more and more and more unlikable. And I think Al Pacino does a very good job in doing that. So he was good at playing a corrupt cop. He was good at doing horrible things.
I was really hoping Ryan would break down and say "fuck the police" at some point in there. But no, I would say comparing them to what we've seen so far. Obviously we've got comedies to work off of. We've got shit. I don't remember all the stuff we've done in the past year.
Compare him to The Naked Gun.
I mean, he's more competent at least. That's a start.
Thank God.
I'm just trying to think of all the movies we've done with cops in them. I think that might actually be the biggest one we've done recently. Because there wasn't anything in the video game or anime season. There wasn't anything really in Spider-Man. I mean, there was cops, but I mean,
Miles' father was a cop.
Them. I guess, but I mean, you didn't really see him cop much, you know. I guess I would say that the corruption that he expresses and experiences is definitely more in the fallen hero kind of thing, where it's like he's interested in doing good things, even if it does require the bending of rules. And I'm okay with that if the rules in question are not fair to to finding justice, I guess is the best way to put it. But I do think there is a line, and I don't necessarily know if he crossed it or not, but I do think that is an easy line to cross, and I would not say that everyone should be just fucking willy-nilly breaking rules to justify their own means or whatever. So, which brings me to our next question, Ryan. The idea of business and ethics are brought up in this film brought into question with this film. As bad decisions are being made for good intentions, do you think Dormer was right to get the conviction he needed? Do you think Ellie was wrong to keep the evidence of the dead cop's mistake? Why or why not? And when is it okay to circumvent the law, or is it ever ethically correct to do so?
Oh man. Yeah.
Getting deep.
So one of my favorite stories in the world is a web serial called Worm. And long story short, it's the story of a young girl who gets superpowers, who starts off wanting to be a hero, but constantly goes down this path of like utilitarian thought and doing like horrible things for good reasons, and she constantly justifies her actions and becomes the biggest warlord in the city. So I like stories that call this into question, and I think another story that does this really, really well is The Winter Soldier, where Captain America and Nick Fury are having this exact like conversation. I think in terms of law enforcement, because such power is given to these people, their standing should be without question, because we put so much trust in them that they need to hold themselves to such a high standard in order to facilitate the trust and be worthy of the power that we give them as a nation. That being said, the legal system is not perfect, and there are a lot of ways that innocent people are sent to jail, and there are a lot of ways that guilty people can escape punishment and go on and do more stuff. So I think the movie kind of says it best, where it's about what feels right in the moment, and then it's about what you can live with after.
Kind of reminds me of D&D a little bit, where I've always made a big deal about the alignment chart, in that I think it's a little bit too rigid. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but whenever I play a game of D&D, I always make my character start off as true neutral and let the decisions and actions I take throughout the story allow my character to shift that alignment as time goes on. Because I don't think playing a specific one really works unless you built your character that way. Sure, I guess, but I think if you're playing a brand new from scratch character who you aren't quite sure where you want them to go yet, I think it's better let the story and the world and the decisions shape them versus just forcing the story to go the way you want it to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll do a similar thing, except I will mostly focus on, or I'll try and get an idea of the character's backstory, and based on what kind of backstory and what the things I want that person to have experienced before they get onto the show, onto the story, I'll let that inform my decision as to how to morally play him.
Mm-hmm.
Truth be told, I don't really like setting an alignment before we get started because of exactly what you just said, but based on the story that happens before the D&D session is what I'll use to inform moral decisions moving forward, and then I'll let the consequences in game change them as the story wills it.
Absolutely, and I feel like the reason I bring that up is because with the whole thing, like I said, it's a little too rigid for me because, who's to say that when you do something good, it's necessarily for good intentions, or when you do something bad, it's for bad intentions. Like for example, sure, maybe you saved that cat. But maybe you are doing so because you put that cat in danger in the first place. Or maybe you saved the cat because you expected rewards, and you will be throwing that cat away the minute you are getting rewards. So, there's just a lot of, various, layers of, intention and decisions, that make these kind of moral, ethical questions really fascinating to dive into, but the thing that really hits me, though, is that it's not just your decision and your intentions, but it's also the perceived intentions and the perceived decision that's being made, because the alignment you have, and I guess in this case, the ethics that people see you have within the context of this film, also kind of play into it, not just what you personally...
To say nothing of the objective results of your actions, because you can set out to do a really good thing and a bad thing happens as a result of it. Then what? Or
you could set out to do a good thing, you do a good thing, and then it dominoes effects into something even worse.
Morality is complex.
It really is, and it's hard to really dive into in a hour-long podcast, let alone this on top of the discussion of this film. But it's definitely something I would like to dive deeper into at some point, because it's a very fascinating subject that requires, I would imagine, a third or fourth person to kind of help weigh in on it. Have you ever suffered from the inability to sleep, Ryan? And if so, when, how long, and what sort of issues came of it? And do you think the film portrays these issues quite well?
Well, luckily for me, I haven't been cursed with, or at least repeated bouts of insomnia. If I don't sleep, it's usually because I am just not tired, or I'm engaged in something else. If I want to, if I really need to go to sleep, I can make myself go to sleep. I can have a bit of a nightcap, do other things to put me to sleep, and then be done with it. So I'm not really a authority on the ramifications of insomnia. Have you been affected?
The closest I've been are just nights where I have, so I have had nights where I have the inability to sleep, but it's not, a consistent thing. But it's one of those things where, it's stressful. It's stress, I think, that does it. Where, I'm thinking about stuff at work. Either I forgot something, or there's something going on the next day that I have to be prepared for, and I'm just not sure if I'm ready for it or can't think about it. Or just being aware that I've got to go back to work tomorrow. And it's not even my current job, but just any job I've had in general. Stuff like this has come up. And it's not super common. I'd say it's only, once every few months I'd get something like this, but it's just one of those things where, I get stressed out over the job or something, and I just am thinking about it all night, and thus I can't get myself back to sleep. I'm not really sure what to make of it, but like I said, it doesn't happen enough, and according to Amanda, most nights I'm asleep almost instantly anyway, so it's obviously not too big an issue for me for sleep, but no, there are nights when it happens. And the reason, and I know when it happens when I'm awake still and I can hear her snoring. So
Yeah, Allegra does not like Sleepy Ryan because I've told her and she's experienced it personally, but when my body says it's time to sleep, it's time to fucking sleep. And I'm just out. I'm just gone.
Yep.
I have fallen asleep in mid-conversation with her.
Over the phone, you think?
No, in person.
Oh, whoa. That's a little rude.
She does not like Sleepy Ryan, and I swear I'm not trying to. I feel like I'm having a genuine conversation with him, and I'm trying to like actually answer or respond to what she says, and I think I am, and then it just feels like I blink, and before I know it, my girlfriend is mad at me, and I'm like, "What happened? What's wrong?"
While this is not an original Nolan work, this does tie into Nolan's usual themes of sleep, dreams, and the idea of different perspectives between characters. What do you ultimately think Nolan might be trying to say with these kind of concepts?
Well, I think, especially with Inception, which will be coming up in a little while, he often uses dreams to represent the subconscious state of the mind, in which case, like, big things that you're dealing with, but that you're not ready to deal with up front and just like in person, are kind of screaming at you through your subconscious, and those kind of burst through in terms of dreams. So by denying the protagonist sleep, he's having these bits of subconscious like mental issues burst into the surface throughout his waking, and so you get these random flashes of his partner dying in his arms and things like that. I think dealing with dreams is a great way to really get at the subconscious because there's no conscious filter that it has to work through. You're not really aware of what's going to be happening, and so the audience gets to see what it is without the bias of the protagonist. It's not what the protagonist
it's a more honest look at the protagonist.
Right. It's not what the protagonist is choosing to put out there for you to see, but rather it's just the raw shit that the protagonist is dealing with.
I like that.
Wait, no, fuck. You tricked me! I'm negative! This was horrible! I wish I was asleep while I was watching this.
You can only use that line so many times.
This is hard. This is really hard.
Let's see. At one point, Ellie says, a good cop can't sleep because he's missing a piece of the puzzle. A bad cop can't sleep because his conscience won't let him. Why do you think Dormer can't sleep? Or do you think her quote literally does not apply to this situation?
I think the quote does apply to this specific situation, especially because of the scene with the lights in the room. I think that was actually a really great scene that really drove this point home, because he's having trouble sleeping and you think it's because of the light. And when the lady who's doing who runs the hotel comes in and he says, "It's so fucking bright in here." She says, "No, it's dark in here." And then she actually turns on the light. It's indicative of the fact that like the light isn't really the problem with him sleeping, but rather his conscience. But also, I think it's a really, really interesting way of showing how this character, who he's thought has been in the light this whole time, subjectively, in terms of like doing the right thing and like the ultimate good, like the utilitarian ideals of good, but in truth, he's been in darkness this whole time and just hasn't realized it. Which was stupid, and it was too it was too over the heads of common moviegoers. No wonder this didn't do great. I'm trying really hard, man. I really like this movie. I mean, I hate it. Next question.
I would say that you hit the nail on the head a bit there. I think the darkness of that room and what he's going through does represent his clouded, dark conscience as he's like struggling to get over what he's done and where he's going. And yeah, no, I think it all works really well there. Final question. Again, we have another scenario in which a female lead works opposition to the male lead, which ultimately results in his death or confinement. In this case, death. What do you make of this trend, Ryan? This is now 3 for 3.
I don't think it's I think you're trying to color it as a trend, because in this case, while she's working against the protagonist, she's not even directly working against the protagonist, but rather she is uncovering a dark secret that he's actively trying to cover up. And in the at the end of the story, she's willing to cast it away like he is, but he tells her not to because he doesn't want her to lose her way. She ultimately represents the purity of, like, the nobility of the ideal of being a cop. She has the drive, she has that kind of wide-eyed, bushy-tailed like mentality and really wanting to give her all to the job, without having been jaded by decades of horrible murders and trying to put away terrible people, and willing to trade off a piece of your integrity each time in order to get the bad guys to stay in prison. So I don't think she really works in opposition, but rather she kind of represents the good that he's almost left behind, and he acknowledges that at the end.
Typical feminist Ryan.
Which is stupid, because Al Pacino should have lived at the end. He deserved to live, even though he accidentally killed his fucking partner and then continued to lie at every single chance.
Ellie should have let him on the piece of floating wood so they both could have survived. Instead, it's just her, and that's not cool. Wait, what movie?
Yeah, there's enough room on that door for him, Rose. I mean Ellie.
No, so you're right, but I don't think it's necessarily that. There's still an opposition here. I don't think it's necessarily the same as we had before, or the woman is the female character is leading them astray or anything like that, but more. Instead of being opposition in terms of like them being a distraction or them like leading them to the death, she's ultimately trying to do good, but it still leads to his death because if it wasn't for her pulling him in this direction again, back towards Finch, there wouldn't have been a shootout and he would have been able to walk away scot-free. But I think that wouldn't have been able to happen anyway, because I think she represents this part of his conscience that he can't just ignore. And so I think there is in opposition to it. I think there is definitely a tie to it. I just think it's less overt than it has been the past two films.
I mean, if there's an opposition towards it, then it's really just it's really representative of the opposition he has with himself then, if that's the case.
Yeah.
Plus, I don't think it's fair to say that if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't have died at the end, because he realized something that he said towards the beginning of the movie, where he made a note of the fact that this guy crossed the line and then was completely calm, looked for everything that we would look for, and then calmly removed it. No rush. He didn't panic. He didn't do anything like that. You don't go there and come back. This guy's going to do it again. So, like, at the end of the day, like, I think his conscience ultimately wins out. So it's not just Ellie that brings him back, but rather his conscience at leaving a person who's more than likely going to become a serial killer free in order to cover his own tracks.
Well, Ryan, we have reached the end of the questions, so why don't we jump into the mail call real quick. If you want to send us your emails or your Twitter, your tweets, your Facebooks, what do you call Facebook? Just if you're gonna book us, there you go. You're gonna book us. If you're gonna tweet us, if you're gonna tumble us,
I'd be down for a tumble.
You can.
I mean,
feel like it's a innuendo right there. Anyway, you can reach out to us on those platforms. Leave us questions, comments, concerns. You can let us know what you think of these movies. Let us know what you're having trouble sleeping about. What's on your mind, listener? Go ahead and tell me. I'm listening. If you want to reach out to us directly, Ryan, where can they reach out at?
They can reach out to us at fucking night mute, because the night's on mute and I can't sleep. Oh my god. God damn you. I mean, it's evacstation@gmail.com.
I mean, it's a good pun, though.
Is it? Is it? Yeah, it is.
I think so. We're on to the final section here, where we rank the film from platinum to shit. Sorry, trash, and all the colors in between. Ryan, the court, everything is yours. What do you think?
Oh, thank God. I really like this movie. Shit. If you couldn't tell. Actually, really.
I was straining really hard back
so
there.
Hard. It's just like, it's hard for me to have just experienced this movie and seen a lot of things that I was really, really, really interested in, and then like, but what don't you like? Like, Robin Williams isn't funny.
I find the transition to being an asshole towards films fairly easy, but I've had practice.
But also, I think you're right in that it's easier to be the bad guy for movies that you've already seen, because you're not going to be enamored with the good stuff because you've seen it already. It's good, but you can also look at other stuff that's happening. So I really, really like this movie. It's like you can see Nolan's style developing here as well. We touched on it with like the heavy emphasis on dreams, those quick cutaway shots to people dying and like kind of representing his subconscious breaking through. I think this and Memento really brings home the fact that if Nolan wanted to get into, like, true crime, it would be the most terrifying thing we'd see, because he has a way of making these very real character choices and very real situations, like, fantastically terrifying, if that makes sense. Like, it's kind of, like, over-terrifying, but it's still grounded in reality, so it just makes it feel that much bigger. So I really like this one. Again, you can see his style is still developing, so I don't want to give it a platinum, but it was really, really good, and it's a very interesting take on a true crime story. I'm also going to give this one a high. No, I'm going to give it a low gold. I'm going to go ahead and give it a low gold because while I know that he gets better, I can't point to specific things that I didn't actually like about the movie. The one thing that I think that I wanted was more Robin Williams and for him to show up a little earlier, but at the same time building the suspense and then introducing him with a phone call and like almost the moment you hear his voice, you know it's the fucking killer. I think that's wonderful. So I think while I had to wait for it, the payoff was very good. Okay.
I think I would probably go silver for me. I know I'm supposed to be the positive one here, but no, I think the fact that it does take a good chunk of time for Robin Williams to make an appearance, voice or otherwise, and I think also how quickly they kill off his partner. Like, we don't get a good feel for his character before they kill him off, and it kind of sucks a little bit, because it would have been a little nicer to feel a bit more for him when he goes away, but he just kind of feels more like he's a
well, okay, so in regards to that, because we didn't get to talk about that, but I actually like the fact that they killed him off pretty quickly, because it leaves you in doubt as to the nature of Al Pacino's character. Like, is he actually just a dirty cop? Or is he just worrying because this IA dickhead has it out for him? And then he accidentally kills his partner, which is a whole bunch of hijinks that we're already, like, getting ready for. But the fact that his partner, who he's known for years at this point, actually thinks that he would kill him, like, actually believed it at the end, really gets you thinking, as to really gets you doubting his character. Like, oh shit, is he dirty? Was he willing to do that? That's the fact, and the fact that Al Pacino's character isn't really sure at the end of it is also a big thing. So I think it would have been interesting to see more of him, but I think he also serves a better purpose in the story by leaving Al Pacino's character so undefined, because it kind of introduces doubt into just how good of a guy this guy is.
I don't know. I'm just of the mindset that like I said, we don't get a good picture who this guy is.
Yeah.
He's there for a very short bit as we talk about the IA step, then he just is kind of gone, and I don't know. I would have preferred a little bit more, and then the final nail in the cover for me is just and by nail I mean like, hey, it's just silver. It's not the end of the world, but the other thing that kind of solidifies it for me is it's not an original Nolan work. Like, yeah, he polished it up a bit to kind of give it his own spin, but ultimately it's an adaptation of another film, and I think it's still good. I think it's still really solid, but yeah, I'd hate to get this a higher ranking when we know that his original works are some of the most like rock out solid pieces out there.
That is fair. That is. All right, I'm gonna meet you at silver. That actually is a very good point.
Because Ryan, remember next week we've got Prestige.
Oh, the Prestige! Oh man! Oh,
the shittiest film committed to film.
Yes! Oh, I'm positive for the Prestige. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Hey Ryan, I got a magic trick for you.
Are you gonna try and make the movie disappear?
Oh, trust me, it's gonna be far worse than that.
No.
And I believe we have Robbie joining us next week as well.
Great, he can back me up as to how this movie's a fucking masterpiece.
It'll be a very interesting dynamic to have 3 people on for this back and forth nonsense.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. We will draw straws as to which is which.
Yep. And then we'll also be recording Inception next week, which should be kind of fun. And then we'll be doing the other 2, Interstellar and Dunkirk. Indeed. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you after the credits.
Bye.